Meanwhile, President Biden is hosting Japan's prime minister and the Philippine president today at the White House. This is the first meeting of all of the three together. On China's increasing aggression in the South China Sea, that certainly is the main focus. In a joint press conference yesterday, the U.S. and Japan agreed to tighten military and economic ties to counter communist China and the threat there. Watch.
Based on the solid trust with our ally, the United States, we will continue to call on China to fulfill its responsibilities as a major power.
We keep improving our lines of communications with one another. That's the United States and China. And our alliance we have with Japan is purely defensive in nature. And the things we discussed today improve our cooperation and are purely about defense and readiness. It's not aimed at any one nation or a threat to the region.
Joining me right now is the Gatestone Institute senior fellow, author of The Coming Collapse of China and China is Going to War, Gordon Chang, back with me. Gordon, what is your reaction to this meeting with the head of Philippines and Japan? Obviously, the entire region is feeling an impact of the aggression from communist China in the South China Sea.
Well, this is a good move because we see the region coming together. And, you know, it's wrong for President Biden to say that this is not directed at any one country. Everybody knows it's directed at China, and the Chinese know it. And when we say these things, the Chinese look at us and say, you Americans are deceptive. You're deceiving us. And in that sense, they're right. We need to come out and say, China is an aggressive state. It is threatening countries in the region and the United States, and we are going to band together to protect ourselves from China.
Yeah, and you know, at this point, we have no evidence of what Joe Biden just said a minute ago in that soundbite, and that is that the militaries are communicating regularly again. We have no evidence of that. I mean, you know, the U.S. has basically been begging the Chinese to get back to regular order where the militaries are communicating. Do you believe that this relationship is improving, or are we just hearing talking points from the Chinese side?
I think we're just hearing talking points. You know, military to military communications, you know, it sounds good. This is what we did in the Cold War with the Soviet Union, but it's not working with China. As a matter of fact, these mil-to-mil conversations that we have had in the past, they've really benefited China for a number of different reasons. We need to cut it out. We need to start intimidating the Chinese and saying, look, we're no longer talking to you. We are starting to defend ourselves with our friends and our allies, and we are going to make sure that you do not engage in acts of belligerence, which we have permitted in the past. Yes, Maria, we have allowed China to, for instance, pressure our allies, Japan, the Philippines, and others. And the Chinese have learned that from that. We have empowered the worst elements in the Chinese system by showing that belligerence works. We need a new approach, and Biden just doesn't get it.
And the belligerence continued yesterday. Chinese President Xi Jinping told Taiwan's former president that outside interference cannot stop, quote, the family reunion between China and Taiwan, Gordon. He's laying it all out there. Xi Jinping is telling the world what he's going to do.
Yes, and clearly, you know, just on a basic point, Taiwan and China are not family. People in Taiwan and self-identification surveys usually show between 80 to 85% view themselves as Taiwanese only. The percentage that views themselves as Chinese only is usually about 3 to 4% in the recent surveys. This is not a family reunion, as Xi Jinping says.
No.
This would be an act of aggression.
Act of aggression, and we'll see what the U.S. does and how it responds, because Xi Jinping is out there consistently warning against getting involved. Meanwhile, we don't know if we're getting the right information, the accurate information from the Chinese officials on the economy there. Obviously, they've got a massive property problem. Fitch downgraded their outlook on China's credit rating, keeping China's sovereign debt rating at A+, but lowering the outlook from stable to negative. China's finance minister says this: it's, quote, disappointed by Fitch's decision, claiming it failed to take into account Beijing's moves to improve the, quote, quality and efficiency of its government spending. Gordon, I always laugh when China responds to things about America's pushback, and it picks up things that the U.S. is doing. Like, everyone's focused on government spending in the U.S., so their answer is about their government spending. I feel like it's constant mocking. Your reaction?
Yes, well, first of all, it's good that Fitch downgraded the outlook for China, but they're late. Moody's did this in December, and I think that essentially the markets are not understanding how bad the situation is in China. We don't know their total country debt to GDP ratio, but it's not as people report. It's probably somewhere between 350 to 400%, which is of great concern. It's because they've got hidden debt and also because they've been inflating their GDP statistics. When you factor that in, China's debt to GDP ratio is at a point of, I think, basically unsustainability. And everybody knows that, but they're not saying it. And we need to start saying that because we need to start preparing for what could be the biggest debt crisis in history. China is now having its 2008, and it could bring down the global economy because we're just not prepared.
And in the middle of it all, China may or may not be giving us the accurate readings on the economy. They've got their companies trading on U.S. exchanges, and they're not even following U.S. accounting rules. So in the middle of all of this, the world treats China as a, quote, developing nation, giving them all these accommodations as a developing nation. I mean, it's the second largest economy. It's got a larger Navy than the United States. And we're still calling it a developing economy and giving it all these accommodations with companies trading on U.S. exchanges, the New York Stock Exchange, and they're not even following U.S. accounting laws.
Yes, and we know that the accounts of Chinese companies that have been listed on our exchanges are false. We know, and there's going to be, I think, a lot more on this, as shareholders start going after the accounting firms. And PricewaterhouseCoopers, I think, probably has a few problems it would not like to disclose. So really what we're talking about here is that American shareholders have been deceived. And by the way, it is also the investment banks that floated these companies, you know, with their disclosure statements that didn't really disclose the situation. So there's a lot of parties that have been responsible for deceiving Americans.
Wow, a lot of enablers there. Good point on the investment bankers. Gordon, always a pleasure. Thank you, sir.